Hi friends, welcome to Series 3 Tech News. I hope you all guys executed Hello World program in your machine. The next topic is variables. In simple words, we can say variables are the data containers that saves the data values during Java program execution. Now we know variables will store data, but what type of data it will store? Because we have different data to store, like we have numbers, even we have string, we have character, we have float values, and we have float values is nothing but the point values. Let's say if we are calculating percentage of marks, then it will be like 78.52, something like this, right? This type of data also we need to store. And boolean values, boolean is nothing but true or false. So what type of data it will store, a variable can store? For that we need to tell the Java to store this data in this particular variable. It means whenever you are defining a variable, you need to tell what type of data it can store. So that means the syntax for this variable is, it will be like a data type and a variable name. That means what is this data type? It tells the Java, tell to Java to store this type of data only. What is this variable name? Variable name is nothing but a name that we are going to give, name of our choice, where the data will be stored. Hope you got it, what is data type and what is variable name. Let's take some examples so you will get better idea about it. Let's say now I want to store number, like what we can use a data type. Can I use a number A? Is it valid? In Java there is no data type called number, so this will be a invalid. It is gonna give compilation error. For that they have provided a few data types, inbuilt data types. One is like int. If it is a int a, it is gonna store a number data. Long b, here just a and b are just a variable names that we can give anything, so that is why I am giving a and b. So it is also stores number only. Byte c, consider it is also stores number only. Like what is the difference between this int, long, byte, short? There is another data type called short, short. D, it is also stores number only. All this will be storing numbers only. But what is the difference? So in short, you can only store in certain limit of numbers, like it will be allowing minus 128.7 or 128 to 127. If you are trying to store more than this, it cannot able to store. Again it will fall in between these numbers only. And byte, for byte also there will be a certain limit, but more than this short. And what is long? Long also we can store a long values, long numbers. Int, it can store a certain limit of numbers only. So based on this numbers, I mean based on our requirement, what best suits, so we will be selecting that particular data type to store that particular number. If we are doing something in between minus 128 to 127, then we can go for short. It is going to consume small memory, right? If you are storing in between 128 to 127, and if you are using long data type, then there is a waste of memory that is preventing to store that particular value. So if you think that we need to store a bigger value, then you can go with the long data type or int data type. If you are thinking that we will be using only small amount of numbers, then we can go with short or byte. Hope you clear what exactly this int, long, byte, short. So all will store numbers, but in a certain range. So next we need to store string. So for string we have a data type called string only, string, string only. If you type st or, so it is gonna store string. String is a data type, str is a variable name. And what else we have a character. So for storing character we have a char, let's say c. So this char is a data type and C is a variable name. Let's say if we want to store float values, I mean point values, we have two things. So one is like float float and one is double, and then boolean is nothing but true or false. So for that, the same boolean we will be using. It is like a data type. B is a variable name. Variable name can be anything. Here I am giving C, here I am giving str, here I am giving t, c, b, a. So variable names can be anything, but data types we should mention clearly. If you are making any spell mistake in int, it will giving a compile error, because these are standard keywords that is already defined in Java for a specific purpose. Hope you all got what exactly the variables and why we are using variables. And in summary, I can say variables are the data containers. Finally, variables will store values. Hope you are clear. So I'll be explaining one particular Java program that gives more idea about these variables. Since we are learning variables, so I'll be creating one class for variables, so it will not be affecting a hello world program. So we can create multiple files of Java like this. Variables file is created with the .java extension. Here I need to write, if wanted to execute anything in the Java class, so we need this public static void main string array arguments. You got it right? This is the starting point of execution. Now since we are working with the variable, I'll be creating variables here. Int a, as we discussed, this is one variable of int type. It can store numbers only. Long b, it is also one variable. B is a variable name and type long, it can store long values. The third one is byte c, it will be storing a limited number. There is a short d, it will also store the numbers only. So in all these you can only store numbers. Let's try to assign the values for these. So how to assign a value, I did not explain in the notebook. We need to use equal to symbol for assigning the values. If you take example, a equal to number, any number, let's say 10 I am giving. That means in int a is a variable name. In a I am saving number 10. If I am giving, instead of 10, if I am giving anything like a string or anything of type float, I mean point values, so it will be giving the compilation error saying migrate to type double, change variable a type double. That means it is a compilation error and it is giving options that to change to like this. So you cannot store point values, even you cannot store character like C. You cannot store boolean values like true or false. True you cannot store, false you cannot store. But the only thing that you can store is numbers like 100. Let's say B, I am assigning 1000. C, I am assigning 8384. Let's see, it is giving an error saying byte cannot store 8384 value. Okay, what is the maximum value that can store byte? Yeah, here is the stuff you can see. Byte can only store minus 128 to 127, and short can store these many values, and int can store till these. I mean, this is the bounded values, from this to this only it can store, and long can store from this value to this value. Float can store 6 to 7 decimal digits, and double can store 15 decimal digits, and boolean is like stores true or false value, so it cannot store these many values. It can store till 127. See, d equal to like something 278 something. Now you got it, the variables, and how to assign the variables with values. If you want to store string, str equal to, for this you need to give double quotations, and you need to mention your string, any string, like let's say if you want to store a welcome, so you can store welcome. If you want to print welcome to series retech news, you need to write like this in a double quotations. If you mention anything, that can store as a string. And let's go to the next one, like float. Float f equal to here we can store decimal values 98.2 or 47 something. See, we are storing correct value only, but why it is giving an error? By default, these point values are considered as double values only. So in order to store this as a float variable, we need to give f in the last. So it considers this value as a float value. Why float is introduced? Just to reduce the memories. So you can see the float is like 4 bytes only it is using, but double it is using 8 bytes. So if you want to reduce your memory size, then you can go with float by mentioning f in the end that can store float values. And there is a double. For double, d equal to 98.47. So it won't give any error, but here it is giving error. Why? Because d is already defined in the scope. That means variable name d is already been there. So if you are creating another d, so which value I need to retrieve when user is calling? So it will be a confusion for Java program. So that we should provide unique variable names whenever we are creating a variable. So it is double d is already, I mean, d variable is already been used, so you cannot create same d. So you need to use d1 or d2, or a variable name should be different. And then we can go with char ch equal to, here you need to give c. So it can store a single character, not only c, you can give a, you can give capital A, you can give 5, you can give I, you can give W, you can give P, any character. It will store any character, but the character should be initialized in a single quotations. And now we'll go boolean. Boolean, again if you give B, it will be giving an error saying B is already been, variable name is already been created here, so you cannot create another B. So you need to change this variable name, something like anything b1 I'm using for now, because b1 is not created anywhere. So b1 equal to false. So it can store either false value or a true value. You got it right. This is the data type and this is the variable name. So here we just declared the variable, but from here if you consider, we are declaring the variable here, and we are initializing the variable using equal to directly. So this is a type something like variable declaration and initialization. That means here only in this particular line only variable is declared as well as initialized with some value. But here if you consider, this is a variable is declared but not initialized. You got it? So here variable is created but no value is stored here. The value is getting stored here. That means initialization process is doing here, initialization. So this is the declaration and separate line initialization. This is the single line declaration with initialization. Hope you are getting. So you got it, what exactly the variable, how to declare it, how to initialize it, how to declare and initialize in single lines, and what is the memory that is being used. So you can refer this. In future classes we will be using these variables. So now we created a variables. In next class we will be using these variables, how exactly we can use. Yeah, for this class this is the whole thing, but you should understand what is variable and how to declare it and how to initialize it. These three things you must be clear with this particular concept. Yeah, thanks for watching. Please subscribe Sri Tech News for future videos.